Hello and welcome back to 7-6. Okay, so in this video, we're going to be graphing y equals 0.5 times 3 to the x. So these are the x's that we're going to use, -2, -1, 0, and 1. We always want at least one negative and at least one positive. If I were doing this, I would actually do 2 negatives and 2 positives. So when you're not given a table, it's best to do -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. And in fact, I might go ahead and add 2 as we're going because it's good to have more of an idea of what your graph is going to look like. So let's go ahead and do this. So we are going... they've done some of the work for us, but basically the x here is what you're going to put right here when you're figuring this out. So for x being -2, we have 0.5 times 3 to the -2. And so they've rewritten 0.5 as a fraction. So this 1/2 is the 0.5. That's a fraction. And then 3 to the -2 is the same thing as 1/3 squared. So 3 to the -2 equals 1/3 squared, which is 1/9, right? 3 squared is 9. So this is 1/9. And then we're multiplying fractions. We just multiply the numerators. So 1 times 1 is 1, and 2 times 9 is 18. So our point here is going to be at -2 and 1/18. -2 and 1/18. All right, so when x is -1, we have 0.5 times 3 to the -1. Sorry, that's not a very nice one, but that's okay. And then again, 0.5 is the same thing as 1/2. 3 to the -1 is 1/3, right? That's the same thing. And then 1 times 1 is 1, and 2 times 3 is 6. So we get 1/6. Sorry, my 6 is not very nice. There we go. So we have 1/6. So our point that we're going to graph is -1 and 1/6. There we go. So then the next one is x is 0. So we have 1/2 times 3 to the 0. Anything to the 0 power, remember, is 1. So we have 1/2 times 1, which is just going to be 1/2. So we have 1/2. 0 and 1/2 is our point that we're going to graph. And now if x is 1, we have 1/2 times 3 to the 1. 3 to the 1 is just 3, so 1/2 times 3. So we have 1 times 3 is 3, and then remember there's an invisible 1 here, so 2 times 1 is just 2. So we are going to have 3/2 or 3/2. So our point is 1 and 3/2. That's the point we're going to graph. And then I'm going to add 2. So x is 2. So we have 0.5 times 3 squared, which is 1/2 times 9, which is 9/2. Which is 9/2. So our point is going to be 2, 9/2. All right. When you're graphing fractions, it's easiest to get them as a decimal in order to graph them. So I'm going to go ahead and get these as decimals. So 1/18 is 0.05 repeating, but it doesn't really matter for graphing. 1/6 is 0.16 repeating. 1/2 is 0.5. 3 over 2 is 1.5. 9 over 2 is 4.5. So we're going to graph these points. So if we go to, starting with this point, if we go to -2 is our x, and 0.05 is our y. So we're going to be here just above -2. That didn't even show up. Just above -2, like just barely. And then at -1, we're at 0.16. So we're a little higher than we were on the previous one, but not by much. At when x is 0, we're at 1/2. So we're going to be up here at 1/2. That's sort of 1/2. Close enough. When x is 1, right? We're at 1.5. So at x is 1, we're going to go up to 1.5. 1.5. Oh, I didn't realize the scaling. So 1/2 is actually here. So for the 0 and 1/2, 1/2 is actually here because it's scaled 1. 1 is here, so 1/2 is here. Sorry about that. So 1/2 is here, 1 and 1/2 is here. If we're at x is 2, we're at 4.5. So x is 2, we're up here at 4.5. 4.5. So now we just need to connect the dots that we've made. So I'm going to start up here, and I'm going to come through. Sorry, I'm writing with my finger, so it's really hard to actually see where my line is. I missed all the dots, but that's basically the shape that you're going to have. Let me try again. Let me see if I can get a little bit smoother of a line. There we go. That's what happens when you're drawing with your finger. Okay, so this is our exponential function. It's getting closer and closer to 0 on this side, but not touching, and it's going up and up and up on this side. And don't forget to put your arrows. That's really important because that tells you that it's keeping going. It doesn't stop. It just keeps going up, and it keeps going off to the left. All right. I will see you guys in the next video. Let me know if you have any questions.